After going through this video, you will be able to explain React and its importance, install Babel extension for VS Code. Hi, how are you? So the last module was a challenging one, but I'm happy and proud to see how far you have come along in this training. You've learned about various front-end and back-end technologies with ease that have their own merits and potential and will eventually help you to create a functional web application. So, without waiting any longer, it's time to learn and discuss the last and final web technology of this training, and that is React. Before we move forward and see what React is all about, let us go through some interesting facts about it. React was originally created by Jordan Walke, who is a software engineer working at Facebook. He developed React back in 2011, which was then implemented in Facebook's newsfeed and in Instagram in 2012. It is also called React.JavaScript, which means the same as React. Just like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, React is also a front-end web technology and is one of the most popular technologies for building user interfaces. Also, when we create a website using React, it is called a React app. We will be using this word quite often in the upcoming videos, so please make a note of it. Now, you might think, we have already learned a few front-end web technologies in this training that help us to build a user interface. So why are we studying React? What is its importance? Well, let me explain this through this simple example. Suppose you want to make a sandwich. One way is to take the vegetables like tomato, onion, cucumber, olives, etc. and start slicing them one by one to make a sandwich. And the other way is to simply take the pre-cut slices of these vegetables from a container and put them together to make a sandwich. Now, which way seems convenient and easier? For most of us, the second way might seem easier as it saves time and is more convenient. Some of us may argue that they both take almost equal time to prepare. So, let me modify our example a bit. What if we have to prepare lots and lots of sandwiches? Now, which way will we choose? Here, the second way will be much more convenient because in this case we can cut all the vegetables at once, and while making the sandwiches we can simply focus on putting the ingredients between the bread rather than switching between cutting the vegetables and putting them between the bread for each sandwich every time. Similarly, React helps us to build user interfaces using small reusable pieces of code which we call as components. We pick these components to build the front-end part of a web page. So before we continue to see how we can use React, let us first put a formal definition to it. React is a JavaScript library that is used to build user interfaces. And by JavaScript library, we mean that it is a JavaScript file that contains some predefined functions which we can use in our JavaScript code to accomplish complex tasks with ease. It is far more efficient and flexible than most of the front-end web technologies available today. Let me show you how React helps us to create user interfaces with the help of an example. Suppose we want to add a functionality where a user has to simply hover the cursor over an image in order to view it rather than clicking on it. We can easily do this using HTML and JavaScript code. But what if we have to create 10 to 15 such images with exactly the same functionality? We will have to repeat the code for each of these images. So here comes React into the picture. By using React, we can write code to create the image with the said functionality and simply clone this image to create the rest of the images, and thus helping us to build HTML elements for our web page. Moving further, let us now see how we can use React in our code. To do this, we need to take care of two things. First, we need to understand how we can add the React library in our JS code. Second, we need to install the Babel.js extension for VS Code. Let us discuss these points one by one, starting with the first one. Writing React code is simply writing JavaScript code, but using functionality present in the React library. We can simply add a React code file like any other JavaScript file using the script tag. But here, we will change the name of the file. We will use the name app with the extension JS, as we will be using this file to write our JavaScript code that uses React functionalities. But using this line of code does not ensure that we can write React code. Let us understand why. because in our code, we have not added any React library. So to add a React library, we need to add these two lines of code above this custom JavaScript file. The first line of code corresponds to the core library, and the next line of code is specific to websites. Note that React will only work if we have added these two React libraries in the same order, followed by the custom JavaScript file. This is a rule that you need to remember. After this, let us now move to the second point, that is to install Babel JavaScript extension for VS Code Editor. Before we install this extension, let us see why it is required. Using this extension highlights the syntax where we have used React in our code. Let us see how we can install it. Open your VS Code and then press Ctrl and P together. This will open a dialog box like this. Enter the command ext install mgm cder mot.vscode-language-babel and press enter. Don't worry, you don't need to remember this command. You can copy and paste it from below the video. Once we press enter, the dialog box will move to the left side of the screen and we will see a small text installed with a tick mark. This means that we have successfully installed the Babel extension for the VS Code. You are now all set to use React. Let us learn more about this fantastic technology in the next topic. Bye bye.